So since I've started my educational startup, the thesis has stayed the same despite the product changing so much. The core thesis states that first, we measured the wrong thing. Tests do not measure understanding. They're a very bad proxy for knowledge. And as we go into this new age of AI where understanding matters even more, we don't have any way of measuring or optimizing for the right things. So until we fix what we're measuring for, changing the curriculum and the pedagogy doesn't really matter at all because we'll still end up optimizing for the same things. And the second thesis is that rather than giving students more content and making them more into consumers, they need more tools to build with. And actually, I think that the second aspect will be taken care of by itself because as we progress more and more, we create more tools for humanity. So for example, as the computer appeared, more tools and more ways of creating were enabled for people. As the camera appeared, painters were afraid that it's going to take their job, but it didn't truly. What it did is shaped the way we paint. We switched from realism to cubism and other forms of abstract painting. And in the same way, filmmakers with all of the editing softwares out there, and now vibe coding. What happens is that the barrier for entry is getting lowered and lowered by each day, but the ceiling goes higher. So I don't think educational companies should build these tools to create with, because then it kind of kills the whole concept, since if you build an artificial environment, the whole creation doesn't have any meaning at that point. The creation should be economically useful, because that's kind of the way in which you can actually test whether what you have built is truly something useful or just something you thought would be useful. The final job of EdTech would be to fix the thing that schools are optimizing for. Or at least that's how you would change education. If you change the optimization function, if you change the loss function, and you start optimizing for understanding rather than a proxy of knowledge, which is tests, which measures test taking primarily, then you kind of fix everything. The question is, do you fix education by trying to fix what we measure, or is that a natural progression of just companies changing the ways of hiring? Because the new rules would be to hire based on a higher level of thinking, which would come from a different methodology of assessing people, which would then result in new tests. And I'm not sure I know the answer, although I think it's a mix of both. So the way NotClass works right now is that it primarily asks you to teach it back whatever you have learned. And the reason behind it is that when you teach something back, you have to construct your own explanations, you have to construct your own model of explaining and understanding things from various perspectives. So I'm not sure whether that's the right way of doing things. It feels way better than just taking a test, to be fair. And by the way, I already have teachers using it in their classrooms. I'll conduct a few interviews with some of them in the next weeks and see where that goes.